As enormous alien warships break Earth's atmosphere, the sky becomes darker, and people all throughout the world scramble for refuge as word spreads that the Empire, a merciless extraterrestrial entity with advanced governments, mobilize their troops with weapons and no mercy. But the threat's magnitude is spreading like wildfire among Earth leaders, who are aware that they are being outmaneuvered and outgunned. A woman known only as the Widow watches the news bulletins in a peaceful area of a distant town on the planet. As a former operator, she has witnessed horrors that most people cannot imagine and is renowned for overcoming insurmountable obstacles. Despite being retired, her reputation endures, and whispers the Widow is the one who always completed the task. Regardless of how harsh the battle or the mission was, her past is haunted by spirits. A loss that was so profound that it gave her a deep-seated need to protect people who are incapable of protecting themselves. As she observes, her tactical mind sprints and her skills stay sharp. The news reports that Earth's authorities are in dire need of assistance and have sent a confidential appeal. She listens to her gaze. No one is like her, and no one could ever hope to defeat such an unrelenting force. Stable, she has already made her decision. She has attempted to move on from the past, and she has avoided controversy behind. But she is unable to ignore this, so she consents to leave retirement for one last assignment. Her goal is obvious. She is coming to put an end to this, drive the invaders away, and instill fear of Earth in them. Collects her equipment, carefully inspecting each piece. A tactical knife. A lightweight, she only carries a weapon and a small bag of necessities. She is well known for her unconventional use of the environment. As her weapon and becoming proficient in guerrilla warfare, she doesn't require sophisticated technology or sophisticated weapons because her intellect is she plans to use her greatest weapon, stealth, precision, and dread, to utilize them as she strolls silently through empty streets, feeling the consequences of her choice, but she has no regrets. As she moves closer to the center of the action, her senses are sharpened, taking in every sound and shadow. She gets ready to battle an adversary who undervalues her. She is a lethal, unseen ghost who won't engage in combat. Open conflict, but once darkness falls, she will attack in unexpected ways and where they least expect it. As she gets closer to the border of the alien camp, she studies their routines, technologies, and most significantly, her eyes narrow as she spots weak spots, tiny holes in sections of their defenses that they haven't considered because she has done this before. And every detail supports her plan because she is aware of their superior strength and sophistication, but she also recognizes their conceit, which is her weapon, and she will ensure that it is their demise. The first blow is delivered quickly, and she slips silently. A little explosion shakes the camp as it passes through the shadows without leaving any trace. She takes use of the pandemonium to her advantage, creeping deeper and causing enough confusion to send the soldiers reeling. When an unknown opponent enters their domain, the aliens are startled and their immaculate order is upended. Wondering where she'll attack next, but panic is starting to set in as she eliminates tiny groups of aliens. Soldiers move fluidly, precisely, and strategically, and every attack departs. The aliens are more uneasy since she attacks them from unexpected angles and vanishes before they can respond. Unseen, a ghost that appears to be both everywhere and nowhere at once, she drifts like a shadow. Her strategies are relentless yet silent as she tears through their lines, creating devastation in their ranks. By breaking down their defenses one by one, she prevents needless altercations. Choose to instead leave faint traces of her presence on several walls, equipment, and dim trails of destruction. The extraterrestrials begin to interrogate one another, asking if their thoughts or the Widow is playing games on them. And they are unaware that she is putting them in a situation where they are confused and afraid. Observes the alien force's orderly routines being disturbed by stress, which is replaced by worry and mistrust. They pause, looking over their shoulders in anticipation of an attack at any time, and she's accomplishing precisely what she meant for them to start questioning their own strength and their confidence to crumble under an adversary's siege. They cannot see or comprehend her, so she withdraws into the shadows to determine her next course of action. Her mind is racing with the Widow, has only just begun to explore her options and maintain her focus. Started to dispel conceit, the terror she is sowing will now take root. She is aware that she is only one person in the eyes of her adversaries, yet she also that, when used carefully and intentionally, one person can pose a greater threat than an entire army during an invasion. The Widow's goal, which she was born to accomplish, isn't going to go as planned, and her determination is as unwavering as before. Earth has deployed its most powerful weapon, known as the Widow, to strike, without mercy departing. Only shadows behind her, and she is already demonstrating to the aliens that she poses a threat they never as expected. The widow walks swiftly, calculating each step as she enters the alien camp without being noticed, and the alien guards patrol without realizing that she's observing their every action. They are careful, but not sufficiently so. Observes a trend in their patrols. A tiny opening that would be easy for someone with her level of expertise to take advantage of. She slips through that gap without making a sound, allowing her to observe the alien technology and fortifications. Sophisticated but inflexible, built for force rather than nuance, she discovers her first target, a few extraterrestrial scouts, who are standing at the edge of the camp. They are aware of her presence, but unprepared. She eliminates each of them one at a time with swift, lethal efficiency. Silence, preventing them from reacting. The widow is a shadowy ghost. The scouts have gone down, but she has left behind nothing but bewilderment and stillness. Leaves no footprint or stray mark behind, therefore the aliens will only find in the aftermath. The camp stirs as they question what or who could have gotten past their defenses so quickly. Find the bodies while she observes them reassembling and their leaders giving commands in an attempt to make sense of what transpired. The widow takes advantage of the confusion to further infiltrate their ranks and sow doubt. She is aware that these aliens are used to overcoming obstacles, and every step she takes undermines their confidence. Inferior adversaries that succumb to their might with ease, but this time they're up against something they've never seen before. As she explores further, she discovers a silent, invisible threat that appears out of nowhere. She places a little gadget at a key location to interfere with their communications, jamming signal that quickly confuses their channel. As extraterrestrial soldiers discover they've lost communication with their command, and while they try to comprehend what's going on, bewilderment grows. Modify their apparatus, but the widow's meddling prevents them from doing so, and as a result, their feeling of weakness, realizing that the psychological battle is just getting started. The widow observes them stumble. She has a plan and puts up a number of traps around the camp as night falls, screaming. Wires strung low, concealed snares, pressure points that activate, and improvised devices that mix in with the environment. Silent alarms are supposed to evoke dread rather than cause death. When aliens encounter these traps, each discovery erodes the poise they're accustomed to maintaining. Visible adversaries rather than an unseen force that attacks every trap. From the shadows they discover yet another indication that something beyond of their comprehension is observing, and that they are powerless. A modest supply facility close to the camp center is her next target. She quickly and silently approaches unnoticed guards, crippling them with strewn about equipment. Flipped, leaving behind faint indications of destruction for the aliens to discover. When they realize that this isn't a random attack, they become uneasy. Whoever is meticulous and exact, the widow's purpose is evident in everything she does. Destroy their confidence by gradually eroding their strength until nothing remains. By this point, the camp as aliens patrol in pairs with their guns drawn and their eyes scanning while on high alert. They whisper among themselves that every shadow they encounter shakes the confidence they brought to Earth. Wondering what or who might be responsible for this, they believe it to be sabotage traps, but they are unable to locate any evidence of an adversary, and the widow observes them from afar as her plan is being implemented. Precisely as planned, terror has taken hold and will soon prevent them from moving. Targets a senior official or leader who has been giving commands, then sneaks into his quarters covertly, putting a note or a mark on the wall, etc. It lets him know she's there, but she only stays long enough to let him know she was close enough to take him. When the officer discovers the tattoo, the realization strikes him hard, and his panic spreads to his. Now that they are aware that their leader is just as weak as they are, the widow watches as the alien forces start. Splinter is still making an effort to keep things in order, but uncertainty has crept in. Their movements are haphazard and their patrols are unpredictable. The more they attempt to plan, the more errors they fall into her traps and stumble over their own confusion. They are no longer a group, but rather a coherent force. Many people fighting to the death all night long against an opponent they cannot see or comprehend. Widow attacks occur at strategic points, such as ammo storage, supply tents, and communication centers. Each precise maneuver serves to reinforce the idea that the alien soldiers are not in control and are not safe. Each other questioning whether this is all a part of a larger scheme, but the widow doesn't give them a chance to get back together. Instead, she keeps the as dawn gets closer. The pressure on her to move from point to point serves as a constant reminder that they are being pursued. She withdraws to the shadows and observes the alien soldiers at the camp from a distance. are worn out, tense, and irritable. After hours of stress, they have also lost touch with their command supply, are diminishing, and they're confined in a camp that resembles a prison. The Widow has succeeded in her mission, but they're no longer not an invasion force, but rather a collection of lone troops who are all terrified of the next time she attacks or traps. Her silent actions have caused more harm. The Widow is aware that this is just the beginning and that no open conflict could destroy their unity, eroded their defenses, sowed the seeds of fear, and caused the aliens to start doubting. They are unsure of every action they take and every choice they make. And that uncertainty is what gives her an advantage. Transform their confidence into dread, their power into frailty, and as she retreats back into the shadows, she recognizes the alien leaders become more and more irritated with the reports, believing that the main struggle is just getting started. Rushing in from their soldiers on Earth, expecting a simple conquest, but their armies are beset by invisible attacks. In fear, they choose to send their elite warriors in an effort to regain control. Those who have been prepared to deal with the most deadly enemies swiftly give these exceptional troops to track down and destroy the enigmatic force wreaking havoc inside their ranks. The leaders are sure that this special squad will fix the problem and bring everything back to normal. Not realizing that they're falling straight into the Widow's meticulous preparations. As the top-tier warriors enter the camp, they exude confidence as they move through the camp, analyzing the indicators with accuracy and haughtiness. Left by the Widow evaluating the harm she has caused and examining the traps, they believe that this was created by an amateur, possibly a local guerrilla combatant with little funding. They think they can find her fast and neutralize the threat before it gets worse, but the Widow is observing, and she is ready for this reaction since she understands psychology of command and how conceit causes even the most skilled warriors to become blind. She permits them to feel they're getting closer, leaving behind hints and hints that are meant to drive them in circles, each one pushing them in a different direction. The elite squad quickly discovers they are pursuing a ghost as they go deeper into her web. She leaves them empty-handed every time they believe they are getting near, which exacerbates their frustration. Their cohesiveness, which distinguishes them as elite fighters, begins to erode as their methodical, fluid technique falters. They start to question not only their tracking skills due to irritation and rage. However, because of their adversary's character, every mishap intensifies the unidentified danger. The Widow keeps up her quiet attacks, weakening their trust this time. She targets the elite units, watches their patterns, and waits for vulnerable moments before striking a night, selecting isolated people and turning them off before they can respond to each elite when she defeats a warrior. The surviving warriors are shocked to learn that they are no longer up against an unidentified foe, but rather they are more uneasy with a direct threat that is explicitly directed at them and a personal approach than with the mayhem. They have previously seen that these are the best troops in the Empire, trained to instill fear, but now they are the ones the troops' sense of being hunted causes anxiety to spread like wildfire because they know they're being. Fear is evident as they are observed, traced, and eliminated one by one, and soon the elite unit begins acting in ways that reveal their fear, casting anxious looks over their shoulders and whispering doubts, overreactions to minor sounds, becoming increasingly anxious as they sense the strain increasing every hour in the Widow transforms from a soldier into a shadow who is tearing down their elite and an embodiment of fear. However, she is aware that their thoughts are turning into her most potent weapon with every pause and break. The leaders at the alien headquarters, who once had unwavering confidence, are becoming impatient and demand information on the progress of the elite squad, but the ground responses are evasive and wary of the unit that was intended to bring about order, but is now embroiled in a psychological conflict that they find difficult to comprehend. Let alone, even if the lines of communication are open, the tone is tense and full of underlying nevertheless. The commanders are starting to realize that this operation isn't proceeding according to plan, but they still don't understand the degree of the Widow's influence. They think about deploying additional troops, still believing that more force will resolve the issue by intercepting their communications and assembling the Empire's mounting despair. As she plans her next move, she is aware that her attacks have hit deeper than she had planned, unsettling the enemy's core. Determined to totally destroy the morale of the elite soldiers, she sets up fresh traps, each one intended to drive the aliens into situations in each skirmish when they are unable to use their typical tactics. She purposefully leaves signs of her existence, little reminders that she's always one step ahead, are not errors, but deliberate decisions intended to increase the elite warrior's level of terror and annoyance. Currently split and unable to decide on the appropriate course of action, with some calling for a complete offensive in an attempt to get her to come out in public. While others urge greater prudence out of fear that each move she makes is an additional pitfall when their disputes overflow into their lines of communication. And the widow observes the divisions emerging among their members, seeing that their strength lies in unity. And while unity is disintegrating, she observes their desperate errors, which she may take advantage of. A senior officer tries to assume command of the aliens by directing a reorganization attempt to reclaim authority, but as they assemble, the widow interrupts their attempts once more by using the landscape to her benefit, hitting swiftly and disappearing into the darkness before they can plan a counterattack. When an officer's orders are disregarded and drowned out, soldiers are left in chaos, and his authority is further undermined. The elite unit hierarchy is disintegrating due to the dread that his troops are experiencing, with each member behaving more independently motivated by a survival instinct rather than a sense of obligation. The widow's plan has culminated. She has destroyed the warriors' psychological fortitude as much as their physical formations, one alien at a time. Currently, a member of a strong collective feels exposed and alone. Each warrior is now more focused on their own survival than their purpose, and they are no longer fighting as a team. Goals, the unity that seeks them out has disintegrated, and the elite group that was once the pride of the empire is now nothing more than dispersed people motivated by fear as dawn breaks the alien. The elite unit, the force intended to frighten and crush resistance, receives news of what happened that night. Ruins have to decide whether to escalate further or retreat and concede defeat. Putting further troops at risk against a threat that they still don't fully comprehend, the widow observes as the other soldiers, the few who have not succumbed to her strategies, congregate in the last of the light. Exhausted and broken shadows of she is aware that the empire has been defeated in spirit, even though they were once warriors. The widow has once again turned the empire's own strength against them and the alien soldiers, if they haven't already retreated. Unstoppable are now emblems of a terror that the leaders never expected. Recognizing the pointlessness of continuing the conflict, start to calculate the costs of retreating. They are unable to comprehend how one individual has destroyed their finest forces in the face of an unknown enemy, and as they discuss their next course of action, the widow stays hidden, unfazed and awaiting her next move. The alien leaders decide to intensify their efforts. Rather than withdrawing, they send in a larger force in a frantic attempt to stop the disgrace that is spreading. As more ships enter their ranks, they unload reinforcements equipped with more powerful weapons and sophisticated tracking systems. Equipment. Their approach changes from hunting to full-scale conflict, with the goal of flooding the region to overwhelm any as the alien camp increases. The widow observes as the potential hiding place is resolved to defeat this invisible foe. Taking note of their placements and numbers, she realizes she can't keep using the same strategies forever and is forced to the brink. Realizing that this will be her last stand, she collects what she has left and prepares a fresh variety of distractions and traps, all designed to disorient, delay, and scatter her opponents. This is a war of endurance and the last test of her determination. Not only about specific targets anymore. The reinforcements dispersed in well-coordinated formations, encroaching on her despite the Empire's overwhelming numerical superiority. The atmosphere is tense because every soldier is aware that they are approaching danger, but nobody is sure where it is coming from. It will hit the widow, who takes advantage of this discomfort to transform their orderly ranks into a chaotic mess and attacks. Small groups divert them from the main force, causing panic in certain areas where soldiers wastefully shoot. She's not just hidden in the shadows anymore, she's part of their ammunition in a flurry to hit a target they can't see. Of the scenery passing through it like a ghost that is never far away, aliens become aware that they are losing control of the battlefield as the formations they had painstakingly trained begin to collapse. She keeps slipping away every time they believe they have cornered her due to the constant, undetectable pressure. The widow's strikes are swift, leaving only the bodies of their allies and the debris of their equipment in their wake. And erratic, each one designed to increase their perplexity and cause them to doubt their own strategies and skills. Once confident of their victory, the alien troops are now doubtful, and their nerves are breaking in the middle of the pandemonium. The extraterrestrial communications officer gives desperate instructions to his warriors, telling them to remain focused and advance in search of the opponent. But the widow is aware of the psychology and has foreseen this reaction. Of soldiers under pressure, how every instruction that is yelled out simply serves to intensify the pandemonium, taking advantage of the fact that they are starting to reassemble. Their formations are falling apart with each step, and they're trapped in a vicious cycle of worry and fatigue brought on by the continuous assaults and sleep deprivation, impairing their capacity to reason and behave rationally as the combat gets more intense. The widow herself starts to feel the effects of her efforts. Her body is running low on resources. Tense because to the relentless pace she has set, but she is unwavering in her resolve. She has come too far to give up now. Breath serves as a reminder of the many lives she defends and the reason she battles. Pushes above her limitations, using all of her remaining energy to endure the last hours of this as she faces the immense forces around her. Her unwavering will is her weapon in this war. Despite their superior technological numbers, the extraterrestrial troops have reached a breaking point and their unity has disintegrated. They staggered over the debris of their own equipment, avoiding shadows, completely overcome by terror and panic. The widow has turned their advantages into vulnerabilities by leaping at the first sound, and now they're just trying. Because they consider themselves the psychological burden of the battle, they are unable to survive as the conquerors. Bears down on them, and even the most senior officers find it difficult to keep everything under control as the alien makes a last assault. Leaders order all remaining forces to converge on her last position in a concentrated assault. Known location, they move with their weapons drawn, and the widow's face displays a mix of terror and resolve. She prepared for this time by setting up a complex system of traps surrounding her location that were intended to not kill but to push them further into panic. The aliens stumble over wires and fall into her web. Every stride they take drives them ahead, setting off flash bombs and quiet alarms that confuse and blind them. As the alien troops fail and stutter, the widow navigates the turmoil with each step, drawing them closer to the brink of their fear. She's outnumbered, but they're out because she moves with precision and purpose. Matched in a manner that is incomprehensible to them, they are up against a foe that has perfected every aspect of the battleground, who has transformed the ground they walk on into a tool for their demise with every stride they take. The widow returns the favor by circling them and staying one step ahead of them at all times. For the aliens, the last minutes are a haze of bewilderment. Their lines or their spirits were destroyed, their weapons were broken, and the leader realized that when the struggle becomes futile and a retreat is indicated, the remaining forces rush to comply. As they retreat, the widow watches as they dash for their ships, leaving behind their fallen comrades and their equipment. Her look is inscrutable. She is won not only because of her talent but also because of her fortitude and willpower. Unwavering determination as the widow. The final extraterrestrial ship to depart Earth's atmosphere stands by herself amid the ashes of a battle that put her to the ultimate test against the extraterrestrial powers once, so she is aware that one warrior and one human had overcome some of their strength by refusing to give up. No one will know the sacrifices she has made, and victory won't be documented, but it doesn't matter, because she has done what she decided to: safeguard her home, defend the defenseless, and demonstrate to the alien empire the power of Earth. The widow fades into the shadows in the silent aftermath, having finished her work. Even if the aliens have fled, her acts will still have an impact, and survivors will murmur stories about them. Of an unwavering power that protected Earth against all odds, the widow's legend, the warrior who confronted an empire and forced them to retreat, will live on as a monument to the strength of one unwavering will. The shattered ships of the alien forces' once mighty invasion scurried to take off, engines blazing as they did so. They left behind the remains of their weapons, the bodies of their dead warriors, and they were vanquished by pride, the widow's relentless attack. Not by an army, but by on board their ships, there is a silent warrior whose identity is unknown to them, the echo of the Within Earth's Defense Network news. They encountered a reminder of the enigmatic power that crushed them. The administration exhaled in relief as word spread of the aliens' abrupt departure. Shocked, they attempt to piece together what little they know about the unexpected win, but there are few reports. Some people talk of traps in the shadows of a single figure that are broken up by the turmoil. Moved with precision while unnoticed, but no one can verify the specifics. Is aware of who stood between Earth and the invading empire. All they possess are evidence of a struggle. Battled with cunning and unwavering determination, the widow leaves after completing her mission and fading into obscurity. No indication of who she was, no message, and no indication of her involvement in defending her victory is quiet like the shadows she employed to defeat her adversaries. And her life begins again in silent solitude, while bearing the burden of the mission's memories and the specters of each step she took through the enemy's ranks. She left behind a legend rather than just a battlefield. Rumors of an unknown hero start to spread as Earth gets back to normal. People spoke of a person who moved through the night, an unstoppable force that destroyed an invasion, and who drove the invaders away. Some people reject Empire's might as a fable, a tale of terror and desperation, but others think that the Widow's mythology is based on the perception that someone out there fought an unimaginable battle to protect Earth. Develops from a mere rumor to a representation of the aliens' tenacity Empire, the Widow's memories is still vivid and genuine. She is no longer merely a they didn't expect, a reminder that their power has limits, and the enemy, who goes by name, is a menace. The retreat from Earth is not a tactical retreat, rather, it is a lesson in humility and a symbol of the unknowable force that they will eventually overcome. Recall the psychological suffering caused by an invisible foe who destroyed their unity and cohesiveness. Remains in their thoughts as a ghost that haunts the Empire's top-ranked warriors and its leaders as they evaluate as the defeated invasion struggles with their loss. They realize they were up against something they couldn't understand. A type of warfare that goes beyond their capabilities or numbers. They order analyses, search for solutions, and probe for methods to ensure that such a loss doesn't occur again. However, the Widow's strategies contradict their comprehension of an empire that is renowned for its strategic domination has come across a power that is incomprehensible and unreplicable. Among Earth's inhabitants, a riddle they are unable to unravel. Tales of they perceive the Widow as an invisible guardian who inspires a renewed sense of solidarity. People cling to the notion that someone stood alone to protect them, not out of obligation or celebrity, but out of purpose. Accepting the power she stands for, she transforms into a silent force that serves as a reminder of the Earth's collective spirit. Children learn of the Widow's victory, her quiet strength, and how one person's will can make all the difference. Resilience, encouraging the next generation to value bravery and selflessness. Although she is honored by the world and legend, the Widow herself is resolute and ignored. Her mission, despite being hidden, has had a far bigger impact. Her part is done. The story belongs to those who need it. She may be a lone person whose name is discussed in whispers, yet her acts have bound her more than she ever intended. To Earth in ways that no one else can comprehend. She doesn't require praise or acknowledgement because her accomplishment is enough. The once feared and admired extraterrestrial empire is now seen differently by stories of Earth's surprising triumph were shared with other worlds. For the first time, the Empire's image falters when it reaches far-off galaxies. No longer unbeatable, other cultures observe and listen to rumors of the Widow's deeds, wondering what type of power she possesses. The reputation of the Empire depends on the type of warriors that Earth produces. Meticulously preserved has been shattered by a single person whose face they have never recognized as Earth's, not by an army. As time goes on, the Widow's story is passed down through the generations as a myth, and she is never mentioned again. Conveys a message of fortitude and tenacity, with each recounting adding a new dimension. Making her a beacon of defiance despite overwhelming obstacles and a representation of the Earth's spirit. Her story goes beyond the details of combat to serve as a lesson in fortitude and the strength of one person's will against enormous power. Her name might disappear, but her deeds' legacy is woven. The Empire, wounded by the incident, transforms its identity into Earth's approach. They grow suspicious of Earth, viewing it as more than just a target. Their future plans are informed by their recollection of the Widow's strategies, a tacit recognition of the unidentified warrior who subverted their power. They shun Earth, viewing it as a location now protected by shadows from an unpredictable force. Following defeat, the Empire looks elsewhere for simpler conquests, cautious of dealing with another unidentified warrior, and thus the Widow's legacy endures without recognition or memorials, but in the decisions made by the people she shielded. Earth's inhabitants bear her strength in a quiet bond. Shared by individuals who were saved, they maintain the conviction that in times of need, there will always be someone who is prepared to stand in the shadows and who will brave the darkness by themselves. Despite being invisible, legend is an unspoken reality that demonstrates the strength of one person. Determined soul in the face of adversity, the Widow's mission has ultimately changed. It has changed a planet's belief in itself more than a battlefield. The Widow's victory serves as a cautionary tale and a reminder of Earth's tenacity, has grown into a component of something greater, an unseen force that now serves as Earth's quiet guardian and an everlasting component of its even if the extraterrestrial empire withdrew. Her presence's echoes continue to stand as a monument to the power of the unseen strength of a single goal accomplished.